Welcome to this brief video on the spleen in traditional Chinese medicine. In this video, I'll focus on the notion of spleen qi deficiency as a diagnosis for fatigue. Fatigue is a very common reason for people in the West to visit a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine. One of the reasons is that fatigue is not seen as a serious problem in Western medicine, which usually doesn't offer a suitable remedy. One of the most common diagnoses for fatigue offered by TCM is spleen qi deficiency. Spleen qi deficiency is also often seen as one of the underlying factors to many more fully developed diseases. The word qi has many meanings, but it has now entered English vocabulary as a form of energy, and so equating fatigue to qi deficiency doesn't come as a surprise. To understand the notion of spleen qi deficiency in traditional Chinese medicine, it will be useful to remember another meaning of qi, in that it is regarded as the basic substance forming all matter, including the human body. Yang qi is more ethereal, while yin qi is seen as a fluid, one aspect of which is blood. Both yang and yin form a continuum, which extends from the ethereal to the fluid. There is an intimate relationship between these two forms. Qi is said to be the commander of blood, while blood is the mother of qi. According to TCM, we have two sources of qi, and these are called pre-heaven and post-heaven qi. Our pre-heaven qi is what we inherit from our parents, and it is located in our kidneys. Equally important, however, is the qi that we generate through the food that we take in, which is known as post-heaven qi. This diagram briefly summarizes the sequence of production of post-heaven qi and blood according to TCM. In the post-heaven sequence, food enters our stomach, which separates it into clear qi and turbid qi. Turbid qi passes on through our bowels to be excreted, while clear qi is passed on to the spleen, which transports and transforms it as gu qi, or nourishment qi. This qi then passes through our lungs and heart, and is then circulated in blood throughout our body as Jing or nutritive qi. It then follows that if there is a deficiency in the correct functioning of the spleen, there will be a deficiency in the production of qi for our body. The term for spleen qi deficiency or vacuity in Chinese is pi qi xu. We should also note that there are two other closely related terms that are used for this diagnosis. Pi qi bu zu roughly translates as spleen qi not moving. Pi wei xu ruo means the spleen and stomach are deficient and weak. This term implicates the stomach's deficiency in the problem at hand. So now let's take a closer look at the spleen as seen by traditional Chinese medicine. Chapter 4 of the Huang Jing enumerates the roles of the different organs in terms of yin and yang. It states that the abdomen is yin, so extreme yin within yin is the spleen. When comparing the role of the spleen to the role of the kidneys, the text appears to be assigning a more central and deep role to the spleen than to the kidneys, which, as we have seen, are the source of pre-heaven or hereditary qi. Chapter 9 states that the spleen is the foundation of the granary, the residence of yin qi. It is an organ which can transform residue, where flavor is transferred and there is entering and leaving. Its brilliance is in the lips and in the four white eye sections. Its fullness is in the muscles. Its flavor is sweet. Its color is yellow. Its category is extreme yin. It communicates with the qi of the earth. In Chinese, the body organs are called a zangfu. They're divided into yin and yang categories. In general, the yin organs fulfill vital functions, and as such are regarded as treasures hidden deep in the body. The Zheng term for a yin body organ is closely related to the character meaning hidden. Fu originally meant a place of temporary storage, and became associated with the yang organs, through which food was considered to pass, while its nutrient contents were absorbed. The Zheng organs are the solid organs, and the Fu organs are the hollow organs. The spleen is considered as one of the 5 Zheng organs, together with the lungs, heart, liver, and kidneys. To be complete, we should look at the spleen in its totality, that is to say, as a spleen system, which includes both the organ and the channel. Metaphorically, the channel can be thought of as a road or river that acts as a mode of access to the organ, and is thus important for its functionality. The spleen channel is referred to as the foot tai-yin channel. It has an internal-external relationship with the stomach-foot yang-ming channel. Before I talk about the function of the spleen, it's worth revisiting the previous quote from the Huang Jing. The version that I originally quoted is currently accepted by scholars as the original version. However, a number of other versions of this text include the stomach, large intestine, small intestine, sanjiao, and urinary bladder as being the foundations of the body's granary. The original version neatly fits into the 5 transformations model, but the later version is important in that it shows that later doctors suspected other organs were involved in the digestive process. This version of the quote has also been used to argue that the stomach and spleen should be treated as a single functional unit, with the stomach responsible for the down-bearing and the spleen responsible for upward activity. According to currently accepted TCM theory, the spleen governs transportation and transformation. The stomach receives food and liquids and starts the digestion in a process called rotting and ripening. It separates the end products and sends turbid qi downwards. The spleen produces clear qi and essence, which it generates from the food processed in the stomach. The spleen then sends it upward towards the lungs and heart for further transformation. When the spleen doesn't function correctly, this results in indigestion and bloating. Improper processing of fluids will lead to signs and symptoms of dampness. Dampness is one of the leading impediments in TCM and is the starting point for many more serious illnesses. According to TCM, the stomach prefers wetness, while the spleen prefers dryness. The ascending function of the spleen raises qi and acts on the body's organs to protect them from prolapse. Another important function of the spleen is that it controls blood and holds it within the vessels to prevent hemorrhage, especially in the lower half of the body. The spleen rules the muscles and the 4 limbs of the body. It opens into the mouth and expresses itself in the lips. Its function is affected by worry, anxiety, and excessive thinking. Spleen Qi Deficiency is one of the most common diagnoses proposed for fatigue. According to TCM, there may be a number of reasons for fatigue, and the practitioner should differentiate between the causes. The signs and symptoms of Spleen Qi Deficiency are foremost a lack of energy, a feeling of sluggishness and fatigue. The patient feels unmotivated and exhausted and will experience general weakness. This will be accompanied by shortness of breath and little desire to talk. If the patient talks, his speech may be breathy or slurred. The patient will have a poor appetite and may be experiencing weight loss. This would be apparent through a withered, pale or yellow complexion. There will be abdominal distension, especially after eating, resulting in a bloated feeling or indigestion. The stools will be loose, thin or sloppy. The tongue will be pale, flabby and swollen, possibly with tooth marks appearing on the edge. These tooth marks are a signature indicator of Spleen Qi Deficiency. There will often be a thin white coat. The pulse will be weak or forceless and often slow. The above symptoms may be accompanied by prolonged headaches, especially located around the forehead, which corresponds with the stomach-foot yang ming channel. There may be dizziness, edema, or organ prolapse. All these symptoms may feel worse in the morning. I've gone over the signs and symptoms that would lead a TCM practitioner to come to a diagnosis of Spleen Qi Deficiency. Treatment may be based on one of the following 3 formulas: Sijunzitang, Shenling Bai Zhu San, or Buzhong Yiqitang. I will go over these formulas in more detail in another video. But before I finish this video, I would like to pose a different question. We've looked at the signs and symptoms which can reasonably point to a diagnosis, which we can understand as Qi deficiency. We may reasonably accept that the formulas that I've proposed may tackle this diagnosis on the basis of extensive anecdotal evidence. I've offered a number of quotes from the Huang Jing concerning the spleen. However, given our current knowledge of the spleen, can we reasonably continue to refer to fatigue in terms of Spleen Qi Deficiency? I will discuss this further in a future video. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll join me for other videos in this series.